Hey, I'm Zach,
And I'm Jesse.
and you're watching Tesla Time News
Episode 181.
on Now You Know.
As always, we're brought to you by our amazing Patreon patrons who support us on Patreon and get some pretty great perks.
This episode of Tesla Time News is sponsored by our friends at Nouveau Monde Graphite Mine.
All right, let's go. Action.
I'm writing you this letter to tell you we found millions of tons of graphite.
And the best part? We're located in Quebec, Canada. Bonjour les voisins.
And cut. That's a wrap, guys.
Hey, good job, guys.
And as Amazon associates, we earn from qualifying purchases. Link is down below in the show notes.
And we're brought to you by ecoware.us. EcoWare starts positive conversations with carbon-negative products. So all the shirts and backpacks and towels you see on EcoWare are completely carbon offset, and we plant a tree for every order, so it is extremely carbon negative, and it gets the conversation going. So this week, we are talking about Cybertruck.
There's a lot of updates to give here. Elon's been busy tweeting stuff. Pranay tweeted out, "Can Cybertruck also have a payload towing calculator?"
And Elon said, yes, we'll also show real-time changes to max acceleration, braking, cornering, speed on gradient and range, ladder factoring in route elevation changes, and cargo or tow mass, and drag impact.
Yeah, that's going to be quite a lot of information.
That's a handy calculator to have, as we know, because we were just towing with our Model X.
That's right. We went down to Savannah, Georgia with the Model X and a trailer behind us, and we learned a whole lot of stuff. We're going to be putting out a video about that, but it would have been nice to have a towing calculator in the car.
Absolutely. That would have told us a lot.
And then Elon said, by the way, in some prior tweets, I'd said production Cybertruck would be about 80 inches wide versus the 84-inch body width at the unveil. This is slightly too small. Will be closer to 82 inches, but comes standard with upper laser blade lights. Okay, so there's a couple things there we got to
So first of all,
got to parse out.
I want to talk about the blade lights.
Yeah.
So laser blade lights. Now,
Well, do you want to get an idea what that looks like?
sure.
Check this out. This is We Play Mad Moon, a Dota 2 game competition, and the Vitreous Pro team came out in the Cybertruck, and this appears to have that upper blade light that he was talking about.
Now, is that an upper blade light, or is he talking? Because he said laser blade lights.
Yeah.
So wouldn't that mean the wiper blades? Because didn't we see a patent for laser wiper blades? Or didn't he tweet about that?
Wait, so you're thinking this refers to the wiper blades, not the blade at the top of the windscreen?
Right. I mean, he says laser. I mean,
But he also said lights. I think this is the upper blade.
so then that's also lasers. So this truck just is covered with lasers.
I don't know.
Okay. Not to be confused with the mining lasers
Right.
or the pulse lasers. I think it's interesting that they had the Cybertruck come out at a gaming, like an esports kind of thing.
Especially by a team that's sponsored by Mercedes. Do you think they're going to drop their sponsorship now and become completely Tesla?
I think that would be
How
cool.
smart of Tesla, because you do this, and in the gaming world, everyone now hears about it,
Right.
and you don't have to pay anything.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
they only went 30 feet.
Right. I mean, of course, I don't follow Dota 2 esports, so this was basically news to me.
I'm just saying, you put it into a rap video, you get those fans. You put it into
Absolutely.
a gaming thing. Like, you don't have to spend money on big advertising.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And then Tim at Everyday Astronaut tweeted out, "Think the overall look will generally stay the same, though?" Elon said.
It's slightly better. Okay, so it's going to be 82 inches wide as opposed to 80 inches wide. So we're talking about this much width.
Yep.
Does that make an impact?
I think what most truck owners would care about is the usable bed width. That's what you can put in the truck. I don't know if they would care so much about whether the fenders stick out an extra inch or so, unless we're talking about Europe, which has generally, narrower roads and narrower garages. Maybe that's why. Maybe he wants to just make one truck and be able to ship it all over the world.
Yeah, I don't know.
But there's more.
Oh,
Another Elon tweet about new adaptive air suspension. He said active ride height and active damping are game-changing for a truck or any car with a high max-min weight ratio. What is he talking about?
So, I mean, like your normal passenger car, right? The most load that it's going to have in it is like you and all your friends and maybe some baggage.
Well, unless it's like a mob car, and then you're going to put like dead bodies in the trunk.
Right. And you see them driving on the highway where they clearly have a couple dead bodies in the trunk.
Right.
And the car is like,
Yo, Jimmy, you got the stuff in the trunk?
it's in the trunk.
That's all I need to know. Oh, by the way, did you bring shovels for gardening?
Absolutely. Of
Fantastic.
course. And so for a car that isn't carrying much load, suspension is just there to basically hold you and your friends and your stuff. But when you're talking about a pickup truck, you have to play this balance between like, okay, sometimes it's going to be just me in the truck. And other times, as we've seen on commercials, and I haven't really seen on real life, you're going to need to put a ton of bricks in the back of your truck.
Right.
And the suspension is going to need to be different because it needs to handle that load in a completely different way. So having air suspension and configurable damping means that you're basically going to be able to have the most optimal suspension for whatever given load the truck has.
And remember that this is going to have 4 inches of travel. So you're going to be able to move the back of the truck down 4, the front of the truck up 4, and be able to get in the back easier.
Right. It almost turns it into a little dump truck.
Yeah. And a site called CybertruckOwnersClub.com has been keeping a running count of Cybertruck pre-orders, and based on their estimate, they estimate as of today that 522,764 pre-orders represents an average of 5,873 orders received per day in the 89 days since and including the reveal night.
Wait a minute, that's 500,000 reservations.
Yeah, so go check out the spreadsheet site. You can put your own order in there. I'm not sure exactly how they arrived at that number, but they have these cool charts here. You can see where people from around the world have ordered the truck and what trim levels and so forth. Lots of data to dive into there. And if they're right, that's $27 billion worth of orders.
And so if we look at some more of the data, you see that 17% of the reservation holders want the single motor Cybertruck, which is the least expensive, the $39,900 or $40,000 Cybertruck, which means that the rest of the people
are pretty evenly split between the tri-motor and the dual motor. Now, Jesse, would you like to get a Cybertruck this year for $400?
Yeah. Oh, I guess that Vinny guy, huh?
No, this didn't fall off the back of a truck. This is the Hot Wheels limited edition 1/10 scale RC version of the Cybertruck, and they say it'll be coming out this year by December in 2020.
Wow. All right. So I guess this is a Cybertruck that almost anyone can afford.
Yeah, but if that's too much for your budget, they are also releasing a 1/64th scale track compatible version for $20.
Wow. Okay. So that's even cheaper.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you want to be able to put a Cybertruck in your stocking this year, that might be one way to do it. But I think that the bigger version is already sold out. We'll put the link down below to the Hot Wheels site, and you can go check that out.
Again, this is a way to have this car be aspirational, meaning that people want this car, even though it costs just about the same as like a Ford F-150.
Hot Wheels said Hot Wheels designers studied the life-size Cybertruck from every angle to capture every major innovation in every minor detail of the 1/64th scale RC. Mattel claims that a lot of the features of the trucks were going to be functional on the 1/10 scale version: the dual motors, the all-wheel drive, the telescopic tailgate, the vault cover, and more. And then you can see here they worked with Franz to make sure they got it right.
It's going to be dual motor? A dual motor RC? This is like the first time I've even ever heard of such a thing.
That's what they said. Maybe that's why it's sold out.
Wow.
And the Ontario Provincial Police up in Canada just released a conceptualization of a Tesla Cybertruck as a police patrol vehicle.
Yeah.
You remember a couple of years ago, they put this out of a Model X that they wanted. And so then they asked, which one do you think we should go with? Most people said the Cybertruck. So then they tweeted out to Elon, so it seems that the Cybertruck is coming out on top. Elon, would you work with OPP to design emergency lighting, storage compartments, and a partition for officer safety? Could our computers be incorporated into your display screens? Would love to collaborate.
This is exactly what we were talking. We had a whole in-depth about this.
Yep.
This was before the Cybertruck even came out.
Yep.
We were just talking about like Model 3s being police cars. But again, Cybertruck is going to be a perfect police vehicle.
Yep.
I mean, you have bust-through proof windows. You have somewhat bulletproof. I mean, it's way more bulletproof than any other truck. I mean, the acceleration and speed numbers of this are going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And not on top of that, the maintenance costs that you're not going to be dealing with.
Exactly.
Really, really smart for them to be talking with Elon. I hope that Elon puts a couple interns or people working on this, because that would be huge.
VP of Special Operations. Again, we can handle this.
Yes.
We would just set up a little police Tesla department.
Yes.
So Lawrence Sanderson says it's a miracle that his family are still alive. Lawrence Sanderson is a father of 3, thought his family were going to be crushed to death by a tree in Storm Dennis, but they were saved by their Model X on autopilot.
Lawrence was driving his wife, Anna, and their 3 children to Dorset on holiday when a 400-year-old oak tree came crashing down as Storm Dennis battered the country on Saturday evening in Dorset, UK.
He tweeted out what had happened, and then Elon responded, "Glad you're all okay." That's amazing.
So as you can see in these pictures, the tree came and crushed the front of Lawrence's car. Now, there's a reason why it crushed just the front of his car.
Okay.
Automatic emergency braking kicked in and prevented the tree from crushing the entire car
Wow.
with his family inside.
Wow. So it saw like the first branches come down and then stopped before it got to...
Yes.
Wow.
And this was not the only Model X that got hit by this tree.
Okay.
On the other side of the tree, coming the other way, was another Model X.
What?
Yes. And that Model X also got stopped. I don't think there was that much damage, but basically that was 2 families, 2 Model X's, both saved by their Teslas.
And one tree? What are
In
the chances
one
of
tree,
that?
I don't know.
Wow.
I am not a probabilitician. And so, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how unlikely that would be.
Wow.
That is some...
I feel like they should go play the lottery.
That's not how that works.
It's not?
No.
But you said you're not a probabilitician.
I know enough about probabiliticianisms to know that doesn't work that way. So a Model Y was spotted with roof racks on the roof. So this was spotted on California State Route 237 in Sunnyvale, not far from Palo Alto.
Wait, roof racks?
Roof racks.
So they're testing roof racks already?
They might be testing roof racks. This might just be someone with their Model Y who decided to get the Model 3 roof racks and pop them on their Model
It's
Y.
not just someone with the Model Y. It had to be someone from Tesla testing it.
Sure. Yeah. But I mean, the interesting thing here is that it might be that the same roof racks would work on both cars.
Oh, interesting.
Potentially. And also, Tesla owners of Massachusetts posted this picture of the trunk of the Model Y. The photo credit goes to Thomas Andre Davik. So you notice that there is a lot of room here.
Yeah.
Also notice, if you look at the back, does that middle section of seats fold down?
So it's not a 60-40 split. It's a 40-20-40 split?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it kind of does make sense to fold that down, I guess, if you want skis in the back.
Yeah, so that you could basically, the middle seat could go down. You could put something long in between, keep people apart. Like that way you're getting the maximum comfortability.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm no comfortability expert.
Okay. But I mean, I think what this picture really shows is that you could fit a third row back there if you really, really wanted to.
Well, yeah, it's going to have a third row.
I know. But we haven't had like enough, looking at the exterior of the car, it was hard to see how you could possibly fit a third row. And here you can kind of see how you'd fit a small third row that was good for children.
So we haven't been hearing much about what's going on at OpenAI. Remember, that is the nonprofit organization that Elon started, and then he stepped back from it. And now it's kind of going on without him. I think he's still on the board, but I'm not quite sure. Anyway, we got this tweet from Smerity. It said, "What is OpenAI? I don't know anymore. A nonprofit that leveraged goodwill while silently giving out equity for years, prepping a shift to for-profit that is now seeking to license closed tech through a third party by segmenting tech under a banner of pre-post AGI technology."
So just to decipher that, because there's a lot of tweets, you have to encrypt it, or not, you have to compress it.
Right.
So to uncompress that, basically he's saying, is OpenAI
open anymore?
OpenAI, right? Like if they're taking a lot of the stuff that they worked on and now making it a for-profit company by shifting all of this stuff to a third party, are they even open AI anymore?
And Elon said, "Unfortunately, I must agree that these are reasonable concerns." So, I mean, that's a little scary that the thing that Elon created could be kind of going in a direction he didn't want it to go in.
Right.
And then it continues, Elon says, "OpenAI should be more open, in my opinion. All organizations developing advanced AI should be regulated, including Tesla." And then Viv from Third Row Tesla tweeted out, "By individual governments or on a global scale, e.g. the UN?" And Elon said, "Both."
Yeah. This is, I mean, if you're new to Elon, this is something that he's really worried about. He's worried about AI, and if you don't know why, you just think of the movie Terminator. And if you haven't seen the movie Terminator, What are you even doing? Chevy is unveiling another electric car. Check it out. This is the Chevy Menlo.
Yeah, I remember this one. Yeah, it looks like a great car.
Yeah, well, they're only coming out with it in China. You remember that?
Oh, right. That's why I was kind of bummed about it.
Right. And it's not that massively impressive in terms of stats. It has 410 kilometers or 250 miles of NEDC range, which again stands for not even darn close. So we're looking at more like 300 kilometers or 186 miles of range.
Still pretty good.
Still pretty good. It has a 110 kilowatt motor and puts out 350 newton meters of torque.
Great.
It has DC fast charging of 0 to 80% in 40 minutes. So nothing spectacular, but reasonably good.
Yeah.
It's comparable to the Bolt, but,
Yep.
worse in almost every regard, except for one,
What's that?
the exterior.
Yeah, it does look nice.
The outside of the car looks fine. It
Yeah.
looks pretty darn good. And my question is, why is it only being sold in China? Like, I understand, yes, the stats are not as great, but, I mean, look at the interiors for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty similar. I'm just wondering why Chevy hasn't taken the Bolt and just made it look a little different, because I think that some people would agree that the Bolt doesn't look that nice, right? It's quite clearly in its own kind of class of car. It's kind of that compact hatchback.
Right. I think it's just because you can't wait till 2022 when Chevy will come out with all sorts of EVs that'll fulfill all your requirements.
I mean, yeah, I suppose so. It's just frustrating that a fairly decent looking SUV is going to be produced, but only for the Chinese market.
Yeah.
It's like, why do that? Elon doesn't do that.
Now, you remember that Consumer Reports hasn't always been the biggest fan of Tesla. But last week, the Tesla Model 3 became a Consumer Reports top pick for 2020. Consumer Reports Senior Director of Automotive Testing Jake Fisher said, "The vehicles perform phenomenally. People just love these vehicles. They are absolutely the leader. Through the years, they've made multiple changes to their motors and batteries and other things under the skin of their vehicles. This is a continual thing that they do."
So Tesla moved up the most of any car maker, up 8 spots to 11th place out of 33, and the highest American automaker on the list.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad.
I know. I mean, Tesla scored 5th best on road tests, right behind Porsche, BMW, Audi, and Subaru. And Tesla topped Consumer Reports' owner satisfaction rankings at number 1. And Model 3 was picked as Consumer Reports' top electric car. I feel like Tesla's finally gotten some justice from Consumer Reports.
Right. That maybe they've driven the cars enough to be like, oh, these are great.
And then Elon tweeted this out, that Model 3 achieves 350-mile actual range versus 310 EPA sticker in Consumer Reports testing. This was an article that came out from Consumer Reports, and then deep in the article was this little mention that they had gotten 350 miles in long-range mode. And I was like, what is long-range mode?
Right. You can't, there's range mode like on a Model X, but I don't even think the Model 3 has range mode.
Right. So we did a little digging. And what is long-range mode?
So this is where, and we've never experienced this because we're too responsible. This is where your car is really getting low on range. We're talking single percentage, battery state of charge points. And the car will tell you to stop driving, but it won't stop you from driving. And you can squeeze, apparently, another 40 miles of range out of the car. Even after it tells you to stop, you can get 40 more miles. And that is what they're talking about here, and that is long-range mode. Basically, the car doesn't tell you that you have this extra range, and there's a good reason that it doesn't tell you to do this, and why I wouldn't recommend you pushing 350 miles on your long-range Model 3. That's because it really, really, really hurts the battery.
Right.
So don't do it. Just know that in an absolute emergency where you're, in the middle of a rainstorm or a snowstorm or some kind of terrible thing, you can get some more range out of your car, worst case scenario. Right. However, I wouldn't recommend it. I would still get it towed to the nearest charger. It would be cheaper in terms of the amount of range you might lose from battery degradation. But Consumer Reports was not the only place that analyzed the Model 3.
Okay.
iSeeCars.com did their own analysis, and this was on something completely different. This was on the price degradation of your car after you buy it.
Not the battery degradation.
No, very, very different. So this is a 1-year-old Model 3. How is the price affected by being a used car.
Oh, interesting.
And so iSeeCars.com analyzed prices from over 6 million new and used cars sold from August 2019 to January 2020, and it identified the top 10 cars that had the lowest price difference from their one-year-old used versions of the same vehicle and the cars with the greatest price differences. So Model 3 topped the list. It held its value the best. It lost 5.5% of its value. That is a loss of $2,529.
What's like the average car loss?
The average, so keep in mind the Model 3 was 5.5. The average was 20.1% of value in the first year of ownership.
Wow. I mean, normally you drive a car off the lot and you've lost, tens of thousands of dollars of value because no one wants a used car.
This apparently is not the case whatsoever. A one-year-old Model 3, so my Model 3, should have only lost 5.5% of value.
What was like the worst car on the list?
The worst lost 43.4% of its value.
What was that?
That was the BMW 7 Series.
Wait, so what do those cost? Like new off the lot, like 80,000?
Oh, a lot, yeah.
So you drive that off. Let's say it's 80,000,
Mm-hmm.
and it loses 40% plus. So that's you lost $32,000 worth of value just driving it off the lot.
Well, no, a year, but off the lot. Yeah, I guess you
right.
could say off the lot, but it not necessarily. Like if you sold it the next day, it would probably be something different.
Right. Wow.
So this is really good news for people who own a Model 3 or people who are buying a new Model 3. This is really bad news for anyone who wants to buy a Model 3 used, because it means that the Model 3s are really holding their value. And this means that it's actually really good news for Tesla, because there's no point in you saving, $2,529 on average to buy a used Model 3 when you could just buy a new one for not that much more. So this creates this conundrum where we kind of want to have used EVs in the world. And in fact, I've bought a used EV. My Leaf was a used car. It had dropped in value significantly. Its MSRP was like $35,000, and I was able to pick it up for like $8,000.
Right.
So that was a huge drop. And I mean, it was not an old car by the time I picked it up.
It was the end of a lease, I think. You got it at the end of, I think, a 2-year lease.
Right. So it was in great condition and everything. It was actually certified pre-owned and everything. It still had that much value loss over such a short period of time. But here's the thing with the Model 3. It just holds its value so well because I think it's such a usable car in so many different scenarios.
Well, and it keeps getting better. I mean, it keeps getting updated. The range gets better. It has more features.
That's a really good point. I mean, my older Leaf, it's exactly the same as the day I bought it, and I, just minor repairs and stuff like that. I think that some point, someday, used Model 3s are going to drop in value, and that is going to be a great time to pick one up. But as of right now, it is not the time for that.
Now, remember last week when we told you that Jaguar had to suspend production of the I-Pace due to running out of batteries? Well, it seems they aren't alone. Now, Audi has announced that they will be temporarily suspending e-tron SUV production for a week because of suspected battery supply problems from LG Chem. And Audi has revised its production numbers for both the SUV and the coupe e-tron models this year, down from 70,000 to 40,000.
But it's just February.
Yep. Well, I think they know that they are going to have trouble getting the batteries they need. I kind of think LG Chem is probably overpromised. They've been signing contracts left and right with auto manufacturers, and I think they're probably not able to keep up with demand.
Yikes. That sucks.
So Tesla started clearing the construction site for Gigafactory Berlin for 2 days on February 14th and 15th, and then the Brandenburg Green League, a conservation group, filed a complaint with the German court stating that Tesla should have waited for full approval. And the court agreed and granted a temporary halt to construction.
So keep in mind that this is a man-made plantation of pine trees planted to basically produce cardboard.
Right.
Also, by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Tesla Kid Grunheide for this amazing drone footage.
Yeah, I mean, take a look at in 2 days what Tesla's crew was able to do taking down trees. And a lot of that is because these were plantation trees. They're evenly spaced. They're designed to be cut down.
And they were planted at the same time, so they're all the same size. There's not a lot of tricky business cutting down these trees.
Right. Now, there was swift backlash after this pause happened. Oliver Kirscher, a Green Party vice chairman in the Bundestag, said in support of the project, "To turn a pinewood plantation into a battlefield is absurd. This has nothing to do with nature conservation. We need investment in sustainable infrastructure and future-proof industry, and we must also make land available for this. We have an unprecedented extinction of species in Germany, but that has nothing to do with Tesla gigafactories or wind energy. We need nature and species protection where it can make a difference and not proxy disputes based on pine plantations."
Okay, wait. I'm a little confused. Why isn't he part of the same group that just paused production?
Oh,
And
no,
also-
that's the National Green Party that came to Tesla's defense. The local Green Conservation League, they're the ones who stopped Tesla. And they said, we're not actually trying to stop Tesla. We just want fairness. We don't want one company to be able to do something that others can't. In this case, Tesla has gone ahead with removing the trees because of a very important point. If they don't have the trees out of there by mid-March, then you have to stop taking down trees completely and wait until autumn. And that is because that is bird mating season that starts in mid-March. And there's German law that says you have to let the birds find their nests, make a home, can't touch them until they've had a chance to have their baby birds. So if Tesla can't get these trees out of there by mid-March, they're going to have to delay the Gigafactory for 6 months.
Okay. So, but what was that guy talking about wind power for?
Well, another group that signed on to the complaint is a seemingly conservation group, but it turns out that they are an anti-climate change group that doesn't believe in climate change, and they are big proponents of fossil fuels. So they signed on to the complaint and they wouldn't let go. Luckily, the court decided quickly in Tesla's favor, and so the plans are currently to open the factory by mid-2021. And Tesla said, "We aim to replant an area 3 times the factory plot with mixed trees native to their habitat and the potential to become an old-growth forest." The good news here is that Giga Berlin is not only going to, be replanting more trees than they took down, but they're also going to have a solar roof. So, this is going to be a completely sustainable factory.
Right. Producing very sustainable cars.
Right.
So C. Weidman on the Tesla Motors subreddit said, "Looking through the data returned from the API, I see there's now evidence of upcoming features for integrating Powerwalls and car charging, as Elon mentioned. This appears to be support for preventing car charging from draining the batteries when the grid is down, and maybe allow the car to absorb surplus solar energy." So this is basically in regards to a guy looking through the code of the API of the Powerwall and seeing new stuff that's been added to the code. So basically, this is directly linked to what Eric was asking back in May.
What was he asking?
He was saying to Elon, hey, if I lose power, suddenly I'm going to be stuck using these batteries to power my entire house, and it really sucks if 6 kilowatts of that is going straight into my car battery.
Oh, right, that you've left plugged in overnight.
Right. And so you're asleep in bed, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, you lose power, right? And basically your car's going to just suck up all the power from your Powerwalls, leaving you in the morning with no power to cook breakfast or do whatever.
So basically, C. Weidman has found that there's code in here that's going to take care of that.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I think that that's really cool. And again, this is why it's awesome to have computers be in charge of all of these different devices. All right, so to bring you some more news on the Australian bushfires and subsequent floods, Zach and I have never even been to Australia. We don't know anything about the politics of Australia. So if we were to try and cover it, it would be pretty tough.
Yeah.
Because it's literally on the other side of the world. So luckily, we have our friend Chris V from Australia who covered it for us.
Thank you, Zach and Jesse, and also a big thank you to the Now You Know community who, through your kind generosity, plus, many others from Australia and around the world, have contributed to the Front Up for Fires fundraiser more than $10,000. This money will be donated to the New South Wales Rural Fire Service, and the response around the world has been tremendous, with many given to the likes of the Red Cross as well as actual animal welfare agencies. And this will go a long way to help not only the affected survivors, but also to help rebuild the communities in which they live and also the habitats of the animals affected by these devastating fires. I last reported to you about the fires over a month ago, and currently more than 40 are still burning in Victoria, New South Wales, the Australian Capital Territory, and thankfully, none are out of control at present. To date, more than 11 million hectares or 110,000 kilometres of bush, parks and towns have been razed. That's roughly the size of England, or maybe Austria and Switzerland combined, or even the state of Pennsylvania. An estimated 1 billion animals have been injured or perished. And sadly, 33 people have been killed, including 5 firefighters, 3 of whom came from America. Now, I should note that in Australia, we are quite used to bushfires, or wildfires as you know them in America. Typically, they would start in November or December and run through the late part of February, in a pattern that starts up north and then concludes in the southern states like Tasmania. But this season has been very different, with the nation experiencing fires at the same time. This interactive map shows fires from September 2019 to January 31st. And as you can see, no part of Australia has been untouched. During the height of these fires, our Prime Minister Scott Morrison, he's like the president equivalent in America, went on holiday. Yes, a holiday. To Hawaii, no less. Why? Well, because as he put it, fires are managed by state and territory governments, not by him or the federal government. So, what turned out to be a truly regretful moment, he went and had his Mai Tai on the beach whilst the country burned, people and animals died. On this short segment, I'm going to illustrate our country's highlights and lowlights when it comes to climate action and these fires because, well, as you'll soon learn, it's been a long lead up to this event. Back in 1992, Australia signalled its intentions to join the Kyoto Protocol Agreement. Fast forward to 2007, yeah, that's like 15 years later, we finally signed up to it. What was the delay? Well, in Australia, much like most of the world, we had this cycle of either the Labor Party, more like pro-environment, just a little, and the Liberal Party, very much in favour of fossil fuel industries. And between the both of them, they're stalled on the Kyoto Protocol because, well, as the Liberal government in charge of the nation at one point said, to do so was counter to the nation's interest. Ironic, right? Around the same time, an important white paper commissioned by the then Labor Party in opposition asked economist Ross Garnaut to examine the impact of climate change on the Australian economy and his recommendations around medium to long-term policies to improve the prospects of sustainable prosperity. Published in 2008, it's scary how an economist predicted that increasing bushfires, higher temperatures, droughts and longer seasons would not only have a massive economic impact if we fail to act on climate change, but also, in equal measure, wreak disastrous impact on our wildlife. This year's fire insurance bill has already surpassed $2 billion. In the meantime, to the credit of various governments at federal and state or territory levels, we saw like a carbon tax introduced, emission trading schemes, renewable energy targets, CO2 reduction strategies, and the signing up to the Paris Climate Agreement. Great stuff. But unfortunately, as governments change, so too our policies. And well, they're either rebranded or killed off altogether. So here we are in 2020, having witnessed the greatest bushfire season the country has ever seen, and we have a Prime Minister who's very much in the climate denier camp, swayed by lobby groups, Murdoch media, and well, members of his own cabinet who openly dispute climate change. Those who maybe support coal and gas, or maybe are just have a real passionate dislike for wind turbines, or even want the introduction of nuclear power into Australia. Additionally, this current government wants to fudge about our CO2 emissions in order to meet the Paris Climate Agreement. Yeah, how? Well, they're going to take the Kyoto Protocol CO2 savings and apply them to the Paris total. Approaches that's banned in Europe and will cast real doubt on our ability to reach these goals. And to think that Australia is the second highest emitter of CO2 per person in the world. I can't stress this enough. A lot of Australians are hurting right now. The emotional trauma is palpable. People are angry, upset, and, well, mentally in a space that I couldn't even begin to fathom. They're furious at our politicians who, in the face of specialist reports from multiple scientific bodies, they've been using lines like, well, this isn't the time for politics or thoughts and prayers, when it's been going for 5 straight months. So thankfully, public sentiment on climate change and the way in which we manage fires might also have changed. I must stress that we do have some awesome politicians from both sides of politics, plus big business and everyday mum and dads who support action on climate change. Australia's renewable energy mix from solar, wind and hydro is at about 23.5% and will hopefully grow to about 35% in the next 2 years. The Australian Capital Territory, that's like the powerhouse of Australian politics by the way, shifted to 100% renewable power this year. And well, that's the size of Luxembourg. Yeah. We have one of the world's largest batteries keeping the lights on and lowering our electricity prices, and more exciting technologies in the pipeline like the Sun Cable project connecting Northern Australia with Singapore with a 10,000 megawatt solar array and a 22 gigawatt hour Tesla Megapack, or Megapacks rather. There is hope for us yet, and again, thanks Zach, Jesse and viewers, now you know.
Thank you, Chris. You guys should go check out his YouTube channel. It's fantastic. We'll put the link down below.
And Tesla is actually helping Australia as well.
Really?
Well, it's not necessarily Tesla, but the same guy who brought the Hornsdale Power Pack to Australia is helping to fund install solar and battery systems to communities who lost connection to the grid due to bushfires or floods.
Wait, so how are they doing that?
So Mike Cannon-Brooks, he is that Atlassian guy who basically kind of brokered the deal between Elon Musk and the New South Wales government to put in the Hornsdale Power Pack. He's a big believer in climate change and solving all of these problems. So he's putting up some money, along with many other people, to create these kind of off-grid systems for communities that lost power.
Oh, wow. So this is footage of trucks bringing in batteries and solar. And I guess those are Tesla batteries.
Those are Tesla batteries, exactly. So you're basically setting up microgrids in a country that just lost their main grid to many of the places in the country.
Yeah, Mike said, in the future, we see a world in which many remote communities operate on solar power, off the grid. To get this done, we need the cooperation of the energy providers. We want to work with them to identify the areas most in need.
And so we're going to put the link down below to the website that basically you can identify need at, or maybe you want to go help support them. So we'll put that link down below. But I think this is really cool. Whenever there is a large-scale disaster where the grid is completely knocked out, Tesla is able to get their batteries in there and actually help. And I think that really is going to change the mindset. I know that it might not seem like a big deal now, but people who experience this firsthand, who are like, oh, it's because there was a battery storing the power from the sun that allowed me to turn on my lights at night. That idea, I think, is going to spread a lot faster because of, unfortunately, this disaster. It's really, really smart for Tesla to be a part of this and to basically show that it can be done, not just in Puerto Rico, but also in Australia. I think that this is going to start a much bigger growing movement.
And if you want to get solar on your house, we're big proponents of that on this channel. You can go to our friends over at Energy Geek. They've now rebranded as Energy Pal. And they're a bunch of really nice people who know everything there is to know about solar, and they can help answer your questions. And they're free to you. Basically, the installers are paying Energy Pal and Energy Geek to answer your questions. You're not going to have to pay any of this, and you're going to get someone on your side, kind of like your advocate or your lawyer, who's going to be talking you through the whole process, answering all your questions, doing all the research for you, and finding the best deal for your area. The link for that is down below. Make sure you let them know that we sent you. Now, if you're not a European, then you may not know much about the Renault Zoe, which is an electric car, but that's because Renault only sells them in Europe. And it's a great little car. Jesse and I checked out one of them on one of our recent European trips. It's also one of Renault's best-selling cars, having now sold more than 250,000 units, almost 10,000 of which they just sold in January.
Wow, that's a 156% increase over January of 2019.
Yeah, that makes it Renault's second best-selling car in Europe, and that's a 19% increase in Zoe sales from 2018 to 2019.
What are they doing to make it so popular?
Well, I think the cool thing is that almost every year they add more upgrades. The 2020 Zoe, for instance, has gotten some nice upgrades. A bigger battery, so it's 52 kilowatt hours, for a WLTP range of 390 kilometers or 242 miles. Now, keep in mind that's not probably realistic range, but still really good numbers. 50 kilowatts of DC fast charging. They have a new 100 kilowatt motor, so it's much peppier, and it still has a low starting price of 23,900 euros, or about 26,000 bucks.
Wow. So, I mean, it really shows that if you have a EV that isn't that cheap, but isn't that expensive, that can do most of your daily driving, because, I mean, honestly, this would take care of 97% of what you need to accomplish in your normal daily life. it's going to be popular.
And now with DC fast charging, I think that's a game changer for
Yeah.
the Zoe. Now, remember we told you about Tesla's stock offering of an additional 2.6 million shares? Well, that offering is now closed, and Tesla announced that they raised net proceeds of $2.31 billion to strengthen its balance sheet and for general purposes.
Wow.
I want to conjecture that one of the general purposes might be a gigafactory.
Right. Now, keep in mind that Tesla stock closed on Friday at 9:01.
Yeah.
9:01. That's insane. So, I mean, not only has the stock been on a tear, it's stayed up there.
Yeah.
It's been some time.
Well, and keep in mind that this stock offering was for a share price of $7.67. So even though it dipped a little bit for to get unload these shares, which mainly I think Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley got a hold of, it went right back up.
Right. And again, good news for Tesla because now a gigafactory is like no big deal. That's like a free gigafactory.
Yeah, do you remember all the talk just a year or so ago with all the fudsters saying that Tesla can't raise money, the markets aren't going to give them money? This is proving that wrong. Tesla just said, will you give us a couple billion? And the market's like, sure thing.
Here's a couple billion. Thank you very much for your stocks.
So Tesla hacker Jason Hughes tweeted, spent a little time researching some recent Tesla BMS firmware. Some variables were tweaked to fit 108 cell groups, 450 volt pack. There is a pack ID that starts life set to 109 kilowatt hours usable, 400 plus miles. Bunch of other tweaks suggest prep for new SX3 pack configurations at some point. What can you unpack that for us?
Yeah,
What does
sure.
that mean?
So basically, he was going through some firmware, and
this is battery management software firmware. This is pretty like way in the weeds.
Very deep firmware, so there's not going to be that many red herrings. So 109 kilowatt hour battery. Now currently...
Wait, the cars don't have 109 kilowatt hour batteries.
Exactly. So I would conjecture that this might be for like a Plaid Model S variant. You want to have some extra range because you might want to burn it out on the track or something like that. And keep in mind that this does fit along with what Elon was saying during the earnings call, that it will not be long before we have a 400-mile range car.
So it sounds like Tesla's going to be the first to do that.
Right. And that could be really exciting, especially if it's the Plaid, because the Plaid isn't necessarily being any more efficient, per se, that we know of.
Interesting.
If it's going to have wider tires or anything like that, or a more powerful motor,
juice,
right? Just needs some more power. I mean, that's another key point is that even if they weren't going for range necessarily, that's, when you have a bigger battery, that means you can draw more power from it. At the same time, you kind of think of that as like more drinking straws that you're drinking through.
Interesting.
If that makes any sense. That could be for the Plaid.
Yeah.
You never know.
Good conjecture.
Yeah.
All right, Jesse, it's time for your annual eye exam.
Okay.
I'm going to put a number up on the screen.
Okay.
And I want you to read it. What is that number?
That's 35.
Nope. That's 85.
Hang on. 35?
No, that's 85.
Okay. I can kind of see it. It looks a little... What?
Well, McAfee Advanced Threat Research, they're a bunch of hackers. They made a slight modification to a 35 mile an hour speed limit sign. They added a little piece of black tape there. See how that 3 doesn't look quite right. And they were able to get AP1, which is Autopilot 1 made by Mobileye for Tesla. Remember back in 2016 and previously, Mobileye, the Israeli company, made the AP hardware and software.
Yep.
They were able to trick the car to thinking that sign says 85 miles an hour.
Okay, so that's terrible because that means that people could just go out and put some tape on signs and just cause havoc in the world.
Well, I mean, that's what their story was, that basically they can hack the sign and make the computer think that it says 85, and they put out a video showing that the car will just accelerate to up to 85.
Right.
Keep in mind, this is level 2 autonomy software, so you're the driver, you're still in control, so if the car starts to accelerate, you can stop it from accelerating.
Right. And also, it's not just an unguided missile.
Nope.
I mean, it's for sure dangerous to travel 85 on roads that should be traveling at 35, but it's not like first of all, that you wouldn't notice. And second of all, it's still going to try and take curves and also not hit anything that's in front of it. So especially if you're following behind a car, which on local roads you generally are, it's going to be set to 85. But just like on the highway, if you had it set to 85 and you're going 35, you're going to go 35.
And when they put out the video, people who don't fully understand how Teslas worked, I think thought, oh my God, there's another reason why I don't want to use it.
Right. And it's like, if you buy any Tesla today, it's not going to have that hardware in it, not going to even have that software in it. So don't worry about it. Any car being sold by Tesla today doesn't have this problem.
And also, it's using a neural net. It learns. So if it starts to learn that signs look like this and that that's wrong, it'll just adjust itself.
Right. And another thing. Isn't there like a law that prevents you from defacing signs? Isn't that like, state or federal property?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be illegal? Couldn't you mess up a lot of different things by putting the wrong things on signs?
I mean,
even humans, if I went out down the street and I put up a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign, or I defaced one to make it really look like a 45-mile-an-hour speed limit sign to fool people, as long as it was within a reasonable, I think that would be correct, and you're hacking people's minds with just some tape. You'd be hacking people's minds with just some tape.
And people would speed up.
And people would speed up, and then they would get pulled over, and then they would find the sign, and then like,
oh, I wonder who did this. And
if you got caught, I assume there's some penalty.
Well, and also, just with GPS, the cars know where they are. You can program in that on this section of road at this particular point, that's the speed limit.
Because that's what they already do now. They
So-
do that now. So this is an old story. Had they come out with this back in 2016, we'd have been talking about it like it was the biggest.
Yeah,
my goodness.
exactly. I feel like they're just behind the times here, but I don't know. So SpaceX is teaming up with Space Adventures, a space tourism company, to send 4 private citizens into space in a Crew Dragon at the end of 2021 or early 2022.
Isn't that a fun sentence?
Yes, it is.
A space tourism company.
Can we go on this? How much does it cost?
We don't know how much it's going to cost, but probably going to be over $1 million.
What would you say?
Probably over $1 million.
Okay, what do you get for that? What's the meal like?
They haven't even talked about the meal plan. I'm assuming I'm assuming it's like M&Ms and other astronaut food.
Okay.
It's not the ice cream. Like, astronauts don't eat that ice cream.
Okay,
by the way.
What do you get for this?
So basically, you get 5 days in orbit.
Oh, 5 days in orbit.
5 days in orbit around the Earth, and it's going to be at a higher altitude than the International Space Station.
Oh, wow. So how high is that?
So according to their marketing guy on Twitter, it's going to be at over 1,000-kilometer apogee. So that's over twice as high as the International Space Station.
Okay.
So if you went on this mission, so you'd be one of 4 people to break the civilian altitude record. It sounds like a whole bunch of fun. So I guess if you're interested, you can go to their website and there's like a contact us thing. And I guess that's where they tell you the price.
So this is another revenue stream for SpaceX.
Absolutely.
SpaceX, if you would like a couple of volunteers to go up there and film things for you at a reduced ticket price, we're your guys.
I'm sure they could shave like a $5,000 or $10,000 off of the probably multi-million-dollar ticket.
We won't eat much.
I feel like I'm going to be pretty hungry up in space.
You know what we could do?
What?
Check this out. The world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, is worth $130 billion. He just announced his $10 billion Earth Fund. He said this: climate change is the biggest threat to our planet. I want to work alongside others both to amplify known ways and to explore new ways of fighting the devastating impact of climate change on this planet we all share. This global initiative will fund scientists, activists, NGOs, any effort that offers a real possibility to help preserve and protect the natural world. We can save Earth. It's going to take collective action from big companies, small companies, nation states, global organizations, and individuals. I'm committing $10 billion to start, and we'll begin issuing grants this summer. Earth is the one thing we all have in common. Protect it together. So, let's write a grant proposal to Jeff Bezos, ask him for some money to go up in the Crew Dragon. We'll make a great video.
I don't see how that's related.
It doesn't save the Earth?
Well, I guess we get some footage of the Earth, which arguably is one of the big factors in like every astronaut that's been to the moon came home and had a much different attitude about the Earth and everyone living on it.
Yeah.
Having the perspective of seeing the Earth from afar and being like, oh, that's my house. And we all live there. So I can see that. But I want to talk a little bit about this $10 billion that Bezos is going to be giving away. It's really nice. $10 billion. That could make a big difference for sure. A couple things that I have issue with in his little statement here. He says they want to explore new ways of fighting the devastating impact of climate change. I would maybe have said the word causes instead of impact. I can totally understand that you could use one or the other. Again, it's $10 billion. But if you have $130 billion to give up 10, just...
Well, he said that's a start.
Okay.
I
mean, yeah, I'm sure it must be hard to give away $10 billion. And I'm not joking about that. Like, it must take a lot of effort to, like, make sure the funds are distributed appropriately.
Right.
I'm just saying, if I had $1 billion, I think I'd be good. Like, I'd be set, right? Like, I could keep $1 billion for myself.
Oh, so
and
you'd give
still,
away $129 billion?
Why not?
It's
It's the same Earth, as he said. It's the one thing we all have in common.
I don't think we should, get too hung up on the numbers. I think the cool thing is that it started and that we can apply for this. And I think that if you're out there right now and you're an NGO or an individual and you have a good idea, you should find out how to apply and write a grant proposal, and let's start doing something with this money.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. Yes. But I'm just saying we don't really contribute to climate change in the same way that Jeff Bezos kind of does. So I'm just saying, $10 billion. It's like, that's nice.
We're all guilty of it, though. If you buy stuff from Amazon, then you're buying stuff from Amazon.
It's true. And I mean, hey, we even have that stupid affiliate link thing just because it's a free way to get money from Amazon, because we know that everyone buys stuff from Amazon. I agree, but like, I don't know how I feel about it.
After watching this part of the show and you're like, oh, there's a story in there. I wish I could share it, but I'm not going to share an hour-long video. Well, we have a clips channel now where we take a lot of these stories, we cut them down into a smaller clip, easy to share. And so head on over to the clips channel, subscribe to it, and get notifications so you can see when different clips come in. It's a great way to get these stories out to people. And if you might be saying to yourself, well, what am I going to do with it? Put it on your Facebook. Send an email to your relatives and friends.
And if you're like, I can't do that. I would love to help Zach and Jesse, but I can't do that. If you subscribe to the Clips channel, it's going to make the YouTube algorithm, however it works, share the video on your behalf, essentially.
Oh, that's a good point.
So if you just want to, if you want it shared, but you don't want to be the one to be like, hey, check out this clip, you can just subscribe. That's going to tell the YouTube algorithm, hey, this is a channel that we should be suggesting to people. And that's going to make a huge difference. So just head over there and subscribe. You can even turn off the bell notification. If you click on the bell, there's 3 options. You can say, don't even notify me when the videos come out, because I watch this show every day. I don't need, notifications about clips of little bits of this show. Just hit the subscribe button. That's all I'm asking you to do. And it'll help so much.
All right, it's time for our video contributor stories. And if you've got a story you want to tell on the show, please shoot 2 minutes or less with no music in landscape mode. Send it on in, and you can be right here on the show. Here we've got Peter from the new YouTube channel, Off-Road Electric.
Hi, Zach and Jesse. My name is Peter Civka from a YouTube channel called Off-Road Electric. I have been watching you for about a year, and I decided to become subscriber and a patron because you inspired me a lot. I have always been into off-road, and I even own several military Humvees. But after watching you for a while, I completely changed my perspective and my view on the drivetrains of the off-road vehicles. The next truck I'm building here is going to be based on Tatra truck, which is arguably the best heavy off-road truck in the world. I decided to remove the 16-liter V10 diesel engine from it and replace it with 4 drivetrains from salvage Nissan Leafs. The acceleration of this beast will be from 0 to 60 around 5 seconds, The range will be similar like Nissan Leaf, about 90 miles plus minus. And but of course the truck can carry many more Nissan Leaf's batteries, tons of them, so it can be upgraded or updated if the longer range is needed. These trucks will be built for off-road tours in tourist destinations, and the whole process will be documented on my YouTube channel, so other people can do the conversions too. Thanks for watching, and now you know.
Okay, I gotta say, I've watched a bunch of his videos, and I am a huge fan now. This is so much fun for me to watch.
Yeah.
You've got to go check out this channel.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to turn this into one of the biggest conversions I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
Really cool. Good luck, Peter. All right, it's time for our Patreon bonus stories. And if you don't know what that is, we've got a Patreon page where we raise money to put on the show. You can go over there and support us for as little as $1 a month. Get to see all of our bonus stories. We're about to record like 8 of them.
Right.
And support the channel. You'll feel good. We'll get the support we need to keep going. It's a win-win. All right, we're back from our Patreon bonus stories. That was a long, crazy ride.
We solved
we solved
all the problems.
I think we did. Yep. Universal problems, I think. Yep. It's time for our Patreon shout outs. These are people that support us for $5 or more and really keep this show going. And who do we got this week?
We have Scott Stafford,
Papa Koche,
Chad Pickering,
Wayne Goda,
James West,
Cedric Babb,
Innovative Sustainable Solutions,
Russell Allen,
Tony Zolina III,
Robert Heitner,
Kenneth Jamora,
AFMC Staff Getting to a Healthier Place,
Arturo Guerra Perez,
Joshua,
and John D. Tomaso. Thank you so much for supporting this channel. We wouldn't have done this show without it, and you wouldn't have known the solutions to all earthly problems.
Gonna have to go check
You're
that out.
gonna have to go check it out.
All right, it's time for Elon's tweets of the week, and we got quite a few. Bill Gates recently got himself a new car.
He got himself an electric car.
Yep.
Fast one.
Yep.
The Taycan.
So Elon tweeted last week, "My conversations with Gates have been underwhelming, to be honest."
Right. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people give a lot of credit to Bill Gates. And I mean, he deserves it. Watch him jump over this chair.
That's impressive.
That was during a TV interview.
Yeah, I mean, Elon said, true. That was pretty impressive.
And it was impressive. But it was during a TV interview for like television.
Yeah. So Matt Redland said, "Couldn't the team at Neuralink provide much higher fidelity data for this early warning system, Elon?" And he's talking about dementia and Alzheimer's. And Elon said, "Yes."
So that's just a, even if you didn't want anything else to do with Neuralink, just to be able to be like, Alzheimer's is going to be a problem.
Yeah.
That would be, I mean, just having a couple of years to prepare, like to have your family be able to prepare for something like that, that could make a huge difference.
Yeah. This tweet from Elon, Rocket Nose Cone Production in Texas. And Toby Lee said, "Saw that SN1 had some buckling in between the welds. Is that fixed now?" And Elon said, "The Persuader hammer will fix SN1. SN2 Plus will have better fit and weld quality. Later serial numbers will use bigger stampings, so much less weld length." This tweet from Elon, "High bay for stacking Starship engine bay, propellant tanks, and flaring FK nose cone sections is almost done." So look at this video. They're building this giant assembly plant. That's what Elon's talking about here. In an interview with Mars Society, Dr. Rupert Zubrin on the Space Show, Elon told Zubrin that he will be increasing the number of workers on Starship from 300 currently to about 3,000 in a year. That's an order of magnitude.
That's an order of magnitude.
Wow. All right. And how to get to the launch pad? Well, Sid EV said, "Will Starship be moved to the launch pad vertically? What is NASA doing with their old shuttle and Saturn crawler carriers?" And Elon said,
"Attach wheels to the landing legs and tow Starship to the launch pad."
"And how will it get to the launch pad?" Viv said, "Could Cybertruck tow Starship in theory? Just Starship without Super Heavy?" And Elon said,
"Probably."
Another great use for the Cybertruck.
There you go.
And then Elon said, "F9 iteration slowed down as payloads became too important to risk. Little change is expected going forward with Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy or Dragon. Starship production and thus iterative improvement will be much faster than Falcon. Driving hard for fully reusable orbital flight this year.
Right. So keep in mind that they need Falcon 9 in order to be doing all sorts of stuff, in order for the money to be coming in from launching people's satellites in orbit. And people don't generally want you to launch, and I say people, it's, corporations, but the same thing. They don't want you to be like making a bunch of changes on your rocket and then giving you their multi-million-dollar satellite to put on top of it.
Right. And what's surprising is that Falcon 9 main booster didn't arrive back on the drone ship for one of the first times ever.
Right.
And that's news. But what's really amazing about this tweet is the last sentence. Fully reusable orbital flight this year we're talking in Starship.
Right.
That's crazy.
That is crazy.
And then, of course, Elon is the meme master. So the Pope of Muscanity said, rate my meme master, Elon. If I cannot see the coronavirus cannot see me.
And Elon said, I rate it 2 bug bladder beasts of trawl.
And for those of you who don't know, go read the book.
Right. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm serious. Go read the book. Again, it's like the Terminator.
Yeah.
You're doing yourself a favor by doing it.
All right, it's time for community mail time.
So our Patreon Fabrizio wanted everyone to know about StopTheMoneyPipeline.com. They're organizing a strike on April 23rd against Chase Bank, which has lent out over $196 billion to fossil fuel companies. Now, if you can't make it to a strike, you can still hit them in all these other banks where it hurts by moving your money somewhere else, as we talked about in our own video, which you can find right over here. You can, for free, it doesn't cost any money because you're just moving bank accounts. For free, you can help defund fossil fuels.
Yeah, you guys have already moved over $1 million out of that. So that's fantastic.
Right. And keep in mind, this also applies to retirement funds. All that money that's sitting there, it's not actually sitting there. They're lending it out, maybe to fossil fuel companies. Get that out of the fossil fuel company's hands.
Exactly.
Put it in someone else's hands who's going to be investing your money responsibly.
You'll sleep better at night.
So this London buck wanted a peek of the Model 3. So check out what happened to our friend Mendengus the other night when he encountered a deer the other night.
Wait, that's a big buck there.
It's a big
and
buck.
that's outside of London?
Apparently, I think that was in London.
Wow.
Justin got a satin wrap on his Performance Model 3.
That looks nice.
Yeah. And Lewis just bought his first EV in Switzerland.
Hey guys, Lewis here from Switzerland. Just bought my first car. It's a Renault Zoe R2010 with a 22 kilowatt hour battery. I bought it selling a few of my shares in Tesla, but not all of them. I've ended up only paying about 1/3 of the car myself because of the stock gainings. It's a 6-year-old car with about 125 to 150 kilometers of range. It's a fun little car and very usable for only $8,000. It charges fairly quickly, up to 43 kilowatts, which is nice. Love your show. Thanks for everything. Well, that's awesome.
Thanks, Lewis. And Daryl in England spotted some NV200s.
Oh, those are the Nissan vans?
Yes.
Electric? Wow, why so many?
I guess it's a business that just decided that they were going to save some money.
That's awesome. Remember that you can send in your photos and other things to the show so that we can get you on here on Tesla Time News. All right, it's time for On-Air Question of the Week, and Mike Neal asks, do you think Starlink will be available in our Teslas? If so, can we park them in the driveway and make them a hotspot for our entire house? Just think, when the Tesla wall charger can allow us to turn our cars into a Powerwall vis-a-vis the third-party $4,000 charger, we will have the ability to go totally off the grid with solar on the roof, our Model 3 parked in the driveway, giving us Wi-Fi and power.
Wow. I didn't think about it like that.
Yeah.
I mean, not only that, you could have it that when you plug in your car, it's giving like an Ethernet connection through the charger. It probably wouldn't be the best because of the interference with the charging or the discharging.
Well, yeah, but you can do that over AC wiring.
Oh, I was just thinking that you'd have some data connections, some data lines that went out to, and then the charger would have an Ethernet port, and that would be your router, and then you wire up your whole house.
Okay, I mean,
it just means that when you left your house with your car, that everyone else in your family wouldn't have any internet. That's the only downside, but I do see what you're saying.
But see, Mike's thinking here.
It's a great idea.
This is what's going to happen.
Right, or you could just live in your car.
Yep.
And have a big roll of solar panels.
This is why we have to keep our eyes open for the Starlink IPO, which should be in the next couple of years.
Yes. I mean, honestly, though, I just want the dang dish.
All right, it's time for the results of our Patreon poll, and we asked people, do you own Tesla shares or no?
Yeah.
And we got a overwhelming response of yes. we own the shares, which is
Some smart
you guys
cookies
are
out
smart.
there. Yeah.
All right, now it's time for good news, bad news, Jesse. It's
Yeah?
been a while. Do you remember how this works? You got to pick whether you want the good news first or the bad news.
I'm going to do the bad news first.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Remember that Philadelphia Energy Solutions oil refinery that blew up in June of 2019? We covered it here on the show.
Yes, I remember. It's a huge fireball.
Well, on February 6th, an Environmental Integrity Project report found that the PES refinery was the worst refinery in the U.S. for releasing the highest levels of benzene, which, of course, we know causes cancer.
And
So-
that's before it blew up.
Yes, that was before it blew up.
And then presumably
blowing up doesn't help. I'm sure.
Blowing it up doesn't help, but that's not what they meant.
Right. So that's the bad news.
Yuck. It blew up. So what's the good news?
The good news is the refinery went bankrupt, and the U.S. bankruptcy judge Kevin Gross has signed off on the plan to sell the 1,300-acre complex to a Chicago real estate company that will be turning it into a logistics center. So think probably trucking or something like that. No longer will it be a refinery. The workers will get a $5 million severance package.
Oh, what, each?
Nope, total to divide up amongst them.
Okay.
And the executives will get $20 million in bonuses. And that's a good job for you guys executives, because your lack of stewardship led to the plant being the worst pollution refinery in the country, poisoning your neighbors, and eventually blowing up. You deserve a bonus.
Wait a second. You're telling me the workers got $5 million
for hundreds and hundreds of workers to divide up.
And the
top management, probably fill a boardroom, they got $20 million. But because they drew up the bankruptcy plan, and the judge signed off.
Wow.
Why didn't, if I'd love to be a bankruptcy
You said that
judge.
was the good news.
Well, the good news is that we've gotten rid of the plant.
I know, but what are these top executives going off and doing now with their $20 million?
Probably joining another refinery company to spread their wisdom.
All right, well, I actually blew up a plant, so I know what I'm talking about when I say that we can scrimp this much, but not anymore.
It says that you had the best refinery in the U.S. What was it best at?
It was best at, well, let me sidetrack a little bit and talk about something else. You're going to pay me more money.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I mean, that truly was a good news, bad news,
Yep.
I feel like I've come off of that net zero, I would say.
We got rid of a refinery. I think that's good news.
Okay.
All right. It's time for our Supercharger reviews, and these are sponsored by our friends at Evannex. If you're looking for fantastic accessories for your Tesla, then check out Evannex and use our discount code to save you even more.
Welcome to the best supercharger in the world. Welcome to the Palm Springs Supercharger. It's 11-stall urban supercharger. It's located in the underground parking garage next to the Hyatt Hotel. After we're done playing video games, there's plenty to do here. Just up the stairs, you will see the best pizza in the world, Blaze Pizza. Yummy in my tummy. And across the street, there is Tommy Bahamas Marlin Bar. If that's not enough for you, there's Lolly and Pop. That's my favorite store. You guys, this is gummy, okay? So, it's not real sushi, but it's gummy. And just down the street is a Reserve Starbucks. If that's not enough for you, there's the Palm Spring Museum. And next to the museum is my ballet recital, which I do a lot of reciting. Try to ignore the stinky gas car. Look. And in the museum parking lot is the best hiking place to look at this beautiful view of Palm Springs. So this supercharger is the best supercharger and it gets 10 out of 10. Don't forget to check out my daddy's videos, Gas Troll on YouTube. Thanks back to you, Zach and Jesse.
Okay, so I thought I would do a quick review of the Kamloops, British Columbia superchargers here. It's just off of Highway 5, and there's a 4-stall supercharger here. You get 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B. They're the 150 kilowatt superchargers. There's not too much around here. We've got the mall. It's over this way. And you can walk over there in about 2 minutes. They got bathrooms and a food court. And we're in the parking lot here for the visitor center. And beautiful mountain views all around us. It's a balmy 2 degrees here today in Kamloops. And we'll get a little more charge in the Model 3 here. And then off we go, continue the adventure.
Hey, Zach and Jesse. What up? This is a Supercharger review from Mount Shasta.
Yes.
It's a 16 stall station, pretty easy to get to, not too far from the freeway. There's a little cinema over there. There's a Subway and some other stuff over there.
Taco
Bell, Burger King right across the street, and I think there's a Rite Aid over there. 150 kilowatt chargers, and there's even, if you look over there, a food place.
Literally.
Aptly described. It's pretty easy to get to places from here, so I would give this charging station a 7 out of 10. Right. Antoine and Jamal from Tech Taste Daily. See you soon. Back to you, Zach and Jesse. Now you know.
Hi Zach and Jesse, this is Francis. I'm here at the Apple Visitor Center at the charging station underground in the parking lot. There are more than 50 level 2 charge point stations at this Apple Visitor Center. While you're there, you can check out their AR display of their spaceship campus. You can also pick up a coffee, check out their Apple store, or go on the rooftop to hang out. Restrooms are also at the basement level. Over here, there is the entrance to this parking lot structure, and right when you come out of it, there's all these charging stations. These are the charge point chargers over here. They are restricted, free for use, free charging, and at 6.6 kilowatt per port. It begins over here, 2 ports, and one more right around that pillar. So in total, you got 12 chargers right here. I am now at the second level of this parking garage, and there are more chargers. So this is right below where I was recording just now. And if you take a look, wow, a lot of chargers. 1, 2, 3, 14 that I can see. So this is a total of 28 chargers. Again, these are free as well. Now I'm going to level 3. It's probably, yeah, even more. Oh my goodness, there's so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 12. Let's go down one more. Oh, no more. This is my Model 3 Performance. There's also 2 more chargers over here on the surface rather than inside underground in the parking lot. Oh, by the way, I go by Beat the Bush on YouTube, and ever since I got my Model 3, I've been making more and more videos on this particular car. So there you have it. I counted about 54 free charge point chargers at this Apple Visitor Center. Now you know.
Man, I love Supercharger reviews. Now, if
we shot some while we were on our trip recently.
I know. And if you're wondering how on earth do I do a Supercharger review, you need 2 things. You need a smartphone.
Okay.
And you need to get yourself to a Supercharger.
Oh.
That's it, right? So you record it using your phone.
Or a destination charger.
Right. So yes, or a destination charger, which are, there's more of them.
Yep.
So you get yourself to one of those, you take out your smartphone, you record a short video explaining the stuff that's around it, you give it a rating, 1 to 10. 5, I would say, would be good.
A 5 is good.
A 5 is good. 7 is great. 10 is just like, it should be mind-bogglingly good.
I see.
It should be over the top.
And 1 is like what? They're not working.
1 is like they're not. 0 is like they're not there. 1 is like it's really sketchy.
I see.
You know?
Gotcha.
5 is good.
Okay.
5 is like, it charged my car.
Gotcha.
You know, there was maybe a place to go to the bathroom. Like, I know that in this country, for whatever reason, like 65 is, like a 70 is like a C.
So
No.
5 is a C.
5 is a C.
Gotcha. Okay.
A+, I mean, it's got to be amazing.
Okay. I might be
Like
guilty
a
of this.
view.
I see a view. I might be guilty of this myself. I might
Stuff like
sometimes
that.
give it to. Sometimes you're just in a good mood and you do the review, and that skews your review.
And so then basically you head to our website, you go to nowyouknowchannel.com, and you go to the Supercharger review section. We have a whole explanation of how you upload it the Supercharger review section, and then you can check out all the other Supercharger reviews.
Yeah. All right, it's time for new superchargers. What do we got this week?
We've got a 6-stall 125 kilowatt supercharging station in Biberrier, Austria.
The 10-stall in Rimochamp, Belgium.
The 10-stall in Gainesville, Florida.
The 8-stall 250 kilowatt in Clearwater, Florida.
The 8-stall 250 kilowatt supercharger in Ashburn, Virginia.
The 8-stall version 3 supercharger in Lowell, Arkansas.
Oh, Arkansas. Number 516 in Europe, the 24-stall in Goal, West Norway.
The 8-stall 250 kilowatt in Maple Shade, New Jersey.
And number 781 in the United States, 1,805 in the world, the 20-stall in Roseville, Gallery Boulevard, California.
All right, it's time for our Patreon giveaway, and we're giving away something different this week. If you guys watched our in-depth, and I hope you did.
Yeah.
If you didn't, go watch it.
Yes, go watch the in-depth.
We're giving away a Go Puck, and this isn't just any Go Puck. Take a look at this.
That's right. It's got a Tesla race car on it.
That's the car that went up Pikes Peak. That's Blake Fuller's car.
Yeah.
That's Blake Fuller's company, Go Puck, and we're giving away a Go Puck, which is a fantastic battery.
Wearable power.
Yeah. It's got more energy density than a Model 3. So this is cool stuff. All right. So to get into this big basket of fun, you got to be a Patreon. Mm-hmm. The more you help us out, the more times you get in there. And who's our winner this week?
Our winner this week is Bob Vrablik.
All right. Congratulations, Bob. You won yourself a Go Puck.
Wow.
And not just any Go Puck.
A race car
Go Puck. That is awesome. Well, you made it to the end of the show, and I just want to do a little plug here for our racing team. Because, I mean, we just gave away a Go Puck, and this is from Blake Fuller's car.
Blake Fuller is a race car driver.
Yeah.
Go check out our in-depth. I know I just told you to do that, but go check out our in-depth if you haven't seen it about Blake Fuller.
Yep.
He was nice enough to drive me around the track at COTA.
Yeah.
In his race car, we were catching up to McLarens.
Yeah.
On a racetrack.
I think
where they were driving fast.
Now, I was just thinking about this. Mm-hmm. We should contact Masterclass because we're big fans of that. And we should tell them to have Blake as a Masterclass teacher because he knows everything there is to know about racing and drifting and safety.
That's a good point.
I mean, right? And EVs.
Well, I heard through the grapevine that he might be doing that himself, teaching people about safety.
What are you talking
about? And driving stuff. Can't say anymore.
What?
Sorry, can't say anymore.
Oh man, you left me hanging.
Yep. Sorry.
Oh. Anyway, if you guys are interested in Masterclass, it's an awesome site. Jesse and I, they didn't even ask us to support it. We just love it.
We're always looking for things that we enjoy that we can promote to you because it's what we do with our friends, you know? Like, anyway, we're like, oh, I was watching this thing on Masterclass. And our friends are like, what's Masterclass? And then we're telling people, like, oh, it's like where you can, you know, hear great stories from some of the greatest masters of our time.
Because when you were a kid, and I think I was this way too, when you would take a class at, you know, say middle school or high school, you didn't seem to learn well unless you liked the teacher.
Exactly.
If you liked the teacher, it didn't seem to really matter what they were teaching. You enjoyed learning it. And I did too.
And it wasn't even like, sometimes it wasn't even the subject matter at hand.
Right.
Like, I would just learn things from them.
And that's what I like about Masterclass is I don't particularly need to know how to be an actor or to know how to be an astronaut. But I love learning from those people because I like them and because of what they've accomplished.
Right. And it's not necessarily that you're learning what they know. You're learning how to learn.
Yeah.
And you're learning how they accomplish things that they accomplish. It's not so much that they're like, and then I woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning and I had to go write a script, right? It's not it. They were like, I got my inspiration by doing this.
Right.
Or I learned how to market to people by doing this. Or if you're an astronaut, you need to know how to do this. Or these skills are very important. And hey, by the way, I've learned that those are very important skills just to live life on Earth.
And for $90, you can learn from one person, which is pretty amazing.
Right.
But for, I think, $180, you can learn from all of them if you want to. And take as many of the classes or as few as you want.
It's really nice to be able to kind of give that to someone and be like, hey,
no, it's a great gift.
I know that you're into music. why don't you listen to Deadmau5 talking about how he writes music?
No, I mean, I'm a composer, and being able to watch Deadmau5 or Hans Zimmer and how they compose, it's not that I want to learn exactly how they do it, but to see how others get ideas from them about their creative process was so valuable.
Right. And that's why we plug it. It's because it's really good, and we were able to basically kind of have this sort of no strings attached sort of promotional thing. And if you support the show, it really, really helps us. It's not like we get like a fraction of a cent when you help support, when you use our code. It's significant. We're like, oh my gosh, someone used it. We high five. We're like, yes, that's great. So it's just something to think about. It would really help support the show. But, also would Patreon. So whatever.
I know. I mean, all these names that you're seeing going by right now.
Yeah.
The over 1,300 names. Those are our patrons who have supported us and whom we can't do the show without.
Right. And that's why we do Patreon bonus story every week. That's why we do the live streams every month. That's why we have lots of lovely perks for people to win. We have a Discord, so that way you can talk to each other on a platform that isn't Patreon, which is nice, but it's not great for like instant communication of like the latest goings on, whereas our Discord is that place.
You know what we should do next week? Because I love it when people wait till the end of the show and they watch through. Next week, I think we're going to tell you about some things coming up on the show that only you'll hear about if you watch to the end of the show. And you won't know if you're watching next week's show at the beginning of the show until you watch this end of the show. Does that make sense? Yeah. We'll see you next week.
Now you know.